Hey everyone, Marco here, and I've wanted to show you some of my favorite solutions so far for Kaizen: A Factory Story. This is a game by the former Zachtronics folks, and in it you basically just make factory lines for different types of products here. You can optimize them by time, cost, or area, and I like area optimization here, so today I'm going to show you some of the home appliances solutions which are currently, at the time of recording, in the top percentile. And I really like these 5 solutions which I've got here. So let's get started. So if you don't know this game, this is what it looks like. We've got 6 different parts that we can use here. Arms, which are the main thing we're going to be using, honestly. Tracks, which we can use to move the arms with. There's welders, which connect 2 things which are next to each other. Riveters, which connect 2 things which are next to each other, but in the other direction. And then there's cutters and drills, which are going to be used to make holes in objects. Drills are like cutters but attached to arms, and the cutters are just stationary circles here. So this is my first solution here for the rice cooker. This is my example solution here. We've got the main body. We're going to weld a lid, handles, and feet seats to it. And after that, we're going to flip it into these circular blades, and then flip it onto the controls. That's how a regular solution could look like. My area minimized solution here goes a little bit differently. First of all, here's where the lid and handles should be, but I've got arms blocking them so they don't spawn immediately. This is a technique known as spawn blocking, and I'm going to use this a bunch in the area minimized solutions to just have things in the places where I want them to show up later. So we first start by moving this body up and flipping it over. I've noticed that we can move it up to attach the legs and then later move it down to attach the lid, which saves space here. And instead of flipping it to the right and to the right again, we flip it to the right and then to the left. We position this control panel in place here with this arm here. We can push it from behind and then push it from the side. And then we flip this back here. This arm retracts to allow the handles to join here. And now we have the body in the correct orientation. We push it down here, and then the lid and the control panel gets attached. And this here is my second solution in the back, the bidet seat. My regular solution was already fairly area optimized, I think. So we just have a bunch of buttons on the left and this nozzle in the center of the toilet seat, which we need to create a big hole in. So I've just got this arm here pushing the buttons on the left-hand side while the toilet seat sort of makes its thing here. It gets flipped onto the cutters. We pull it back here with the belt, and then we flip it again into the correct spot. I optimized this a little bit more here. So instead of flipping it to left twice, I have this pattern here which allows for a little bit more efficiency. So with this double flip here, it doesn't go to the right as much. And now I flip this back here and it's going to flip into place. I've also used this arm here and this welder. It was over here before, but now it's in this spot. And that just allows me to save 1 row on the left side. So by creating the button setup here, and then pulling it to the left, I managed to avoid having a welder on this spot. I can have the welder here because it still fits with the toilet seat, and it's fine having an arm in this spot if it gets moved out of the way before the toilet seat goes over here with the track. Now this one's due. Color television with just 2 extra rows on the top and 2 extra rows on the left for an area of 165. Okay, so first here's my regular solution. We've got the screen and then a bunch of small things over here. And we can use this A and the B arm to just double flip to get the frame parts on. So first, the A part double flips to get the frame on the top and the bottom. And then we've got all these components on the right hand together. I'll push these in and then use B to double flip as well. That's sort of the idea. I really want A and B here to double flip, but I don't want these extra things here on the side. So what if there's a way we can assemble this stuff on the inside with arms which are only on the top or the sides? And that's what drove me into this madness. Here's my first attempt. The basic idea here is, instead of assembling the little parts on the right and the screen on the left, I'm going to assemble the parts here on the left and the screen on the right and flip them. I've got the C and the D arm blocking the frame right now, and everything else is basically just flipping these parts into place. I decided not to weld these together to each other. Instead, once the frame spawns, these just all get riveted together. And then I do my flippy flip. But this wasn't enough for me because I had to do this with this E arm here at the bottom with this little track, and I wanted to do it without that. Horrible idea, but here we go. So instead of having all these riveters connecting these parts to the frame, I had to do this with this welder here, passing all these components over it individually. I've got the dials on blocked here. This is where the speaker starts, and the 2 dials which appear at the bottom are actually starting at the top here. So with B over here, I can get those 2 knobs into place, pass them over the riveter, which is also used for the frame, and then push them under the speaker. I just keep going over here and getting their knobs into place, and then this part gets flipped and put next to the monitor. And now we've got everything into place here, and we can just flip a bunch of times to get the rest of the frame on. And there we go. There's the color television with just 2 extra rows on the left and 2 extra rows on the top. The video recorder was the bane of my existence for just casual solving, but I think the area optimization isn't that bad here. I had to do 1 extra row on the left for the welder, 3 extra rows on the right for a welder, as well as this arm here which would push the buttons in, and 2 extra rows on the top for all the arms over there. But it didn't have any extra stuff on the bottom. So first we do have the display and the cassette in the spots where they're supposed to be, but they're going to be spawn blocked for now by the arms and then later on by this panel. I've used this drill here moving side to side to carve the spots for where the buttons go, and then I just push the buttons here. So E pushes the buttons in, D flips them. And I can do this here with just minimally moving this panel. And then once we're done here, this just gets moved down, and these 2 welders on the sides complete the video recorder. I feel like this one, out of all the ones I have, might be optimized a little bit more, so if you have a more optimal solution, please share it with me. I'd love to see it. And now here's the last of my solutions, and the one which I am most proud of, Coffee Maker in 77. So this thing is 7 wide by itself and 7 tall, which means I only have 2 extra lines up above and 2 extra lines below. And I only use 2 arms for this as well. So that is pretty neat. This B arm here is to make the row of buttons, as well as to spawn block the heater at the bottom. And this A arm is going to create the stack on the left. It's going to push it up 1 further than it needs to be, because I need space here. But yeah, we've got the body spawn here, and the tank spawn here, and first we push twice to just get the tanks in, and then we push this up further to get 1 more body. So this is standard here. In the meantime, these buttons are in a row, and B here is still blocking the heater. This gets pushed up to the filter, and now we want to move this body underneath buttons. I did this by basically just using the sides of the arms to just push them both into each other at the exact same time. And now these get pushed back here. The filter gets unblocked and welded onto the bottom, and then they just push the 2 halves together. So that is that for some area optimized Kaizen solutions. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned some new stuff about area optimization in Kaizen. If you like this video, if you like my solutions, please leave a like and a comment and subscribe for more. Hopefully I'll get some solutions for stages 5 and 6, and maybe the earlier ones if you want to see them too. Bye bye for now.